Good afternoon. The gas price roller coaster continues for drivers in the GTA.
Prices have increased by roughly 7 cents over the past 2 days, though a drop is expected tomorrow. CTV's Beth McDonnell has been speaking with drivers and joins us live with more. Beth.
Nathan, these increases are certainly having an impact on people's pocketbooks. At some GTA gas stations this morning, gas was nearing $1.85 a liter. Dan McTague with Canadians for Affordable Energy says the price of gas is expected to dip 5 cents in the GTA tomorrow, but will be right back up even more than that on Saturday, possibly by 8 cents. He says this is a huge jump in price since the end of February when gas was around $1.67. The price of gas is being felt by commuters we're speaking with who travel to work by car. The price of diesel is also spiking, a spike some are saying could be historic this weekend. McTague says the more diesel goes up, that means costs for everything from agriculture to jet fuel will increase, which will get passed down to consumers. And all of these increases have to do with that oil not flowing through the Strait of Hormuz and to do with the war in Iran.
Prices already going up because of oil's jump earlier this week. Now oil prices up another $10 a barrel. Canada's average diesel price just under the record set back in 2022. Diesel prices will likely set a new record in Canada in the next 48 hours, climbing above $2.25, while gasoline at about $1.80.
I drive a lot to work, so there's no way I can cut down on my gas. I have to drive about 150 kilometers a day. So I have to do my job unless I stay at home, somebody pays me. The government pays me, I don't mind.
It's too much. But for me, what can we do, you know? We're still in the war, you know, so.
Very much, no good at all.
Does it affect how much driving you're doing?
Oh, yeah.
McTague says gas could be up to $2 a liter in possibly a week or so. And he says the highest gas has ever been in the GTA was $2.15.9 a liter. That was on June 11th, 2022, almost 4 years ago. Reporting live, I'm Beth McDonnell. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Beth. U.S. President Donald Trump addressed Americans last night on the state of the war with Iran. He highlighted U.S. military accomplishments, but did not offer a timeline for a possible end to the conflict. For more on the state of the war, we're joined by CTV's Kamal Karamali. Kamal, Trump gave an update on the situation in Iran last night, saying it's nearing completion, but he also talked about escalation.
Yeah, critics quick to point out Trump's contradiction at this point, saying on one hand that the war is near completion, and on the other hand saying that they are looking at escalation, bombarding Iran for the next 2 to 3 weeks, and saying that they're going to send them back into the Stone Ages where they belong. So Trump really took this opportunity, a 19-minute address on primetime television, talking and defending his handling of the month-old U.S.-Israel war. He touted success on the ongoing assault on Iran, saying the U.S. is winning, once again that the war is nearing completion, and talked about how they've heavily destroyed Iran's Navy and Air Force, claiming they've severely damaged their missile capabilities and nuclear program. So really a showboating and bragging of sorts happening in this address, but then talking about how they're going to be hit very hard, or Iran is going to be hit very hard in the next 2 to 3 weeks by U.S. targeting oil infrastructure and their energy systems. Have a listen to a little bit of what Trump had to say last night.
Yet if during this period of time no deal is made, we have our eyes on key targets. If there is no deal, we are going to hit each and every one of their electric generating plants very hard and probably simultaneously. We have not hit their oil, even though that's the easiest target of all, because it would not give them even a small chance of survival or rebuilding. But we could hit it, and it would be gone, and there's not a thing they could do about it. They have no anti-aircraft equipment. Their radar is 100% annihilated. We are unstoppable as a military force.
And what wasn't said was what a timeline looks like, what a final victory looks like, and, Nathan, whether a regime change is this administration's final goal.
And all this comes as he threatened to pull out of NATO as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And calling NATO a paper tiger, saying that it is weak in some ways, and saying that the U.S. is threatening to pull out of NATO very seriously because they did not support the U.S.'s operations or support the U.S. military. Also saying that the responsibility of clearing the Strait of Hormuz, this very key corridor for shipping oil and transporting oil that Iran has blocked, that responsibility is up to the NATO allies, and that, quote, those countries should handle it themselves. Now, that is getting a lot of blowback because experts are looking at this as Trump passing the buck to other countries for something the U.S. started and the U.S. is responsible for. Have a listen to what one expert had to say.
He's trying to pass the buck. The United States and Israel started the war. Now he's admitting that they can't deal with the question of the stalemate in the Strait of Hormuz, so turn it over to somebody else. I mean, it's a really, well, I guess what you call a Ponzi scheme that he's used to doing.
Now, the big question is, Nathan, can Trump really pull out of NATO? Well, we know that Congress passed a law in 2023 not allowing unilateral NATO withdrawal. It needs the consent of the Senate. That means 2/3 have to agree. So right now, it is unclear if Trump could bypass that without the support of the Senate. Nathan, back over to you.
All right, CTV's Kamal Karamali. Thank you.
Anytime.
Still to come, the Artemis 2 mission is underway. We'll check in on the journey to the moon a little later in the newscast. But first, an investigation is underway after a vehicle crashed into a home in North York. This happened just after 10 last night in the Weston Road and Reuben Avenue area north of Albion. Police say the driver remained on scene before being taken to hospital with minor injuries. No one was inside that home at the time of this crash. The cause is now under investigation, and it is unclear if charges will be laid.
A man in his 60s has been taken to hospital following a crash in Brampton. It happened just after 9:40 this morning near Vaughton Street East and Garfield Crescent. Peel police say the man was riding a scooter when he crashed. He's been taken to hospital with serious injuries. The cause of the crash remains under investigation. And in Brampton, flames broke out at a home near June Avenue and Queen Street East early this morning. Peel police say everybody in the home was able to get out safely, and the cause of the fire is under investigation.
It will be at least a couple more days before a large sinkhole in Markham is repaired. The hole opened up on Warden, south of Major Mackenzie, early yesterday morning. A portion of that road remains closed in both directions. A York Region spokesperson says the road caved in due to heavy rain. Crews are working on repairs, saying they hope to have them complete by the end of the day on Saturday. Well, it's been 50 years since Ontario first passed its seatbelt law, requiring everyone in a vehicle to buckle up.
Despite years of enforcement and safety warnings, some people still aren't following the rules. Make that CP24's Beatrice Vaisman joins us now with more on the OPP's safety blitz this long weekend. Beatrice.
Yeah, Nathan, Michelle, good afternoon. Officers will be out on all OPP patrolled highways, the entire 400 series, looking for people who are not wearing their seatbelts, who just haven't learned at this point, despite it now being more than 50 years since these new laws were introduced. Let's bring in OPP Sergeant Kerry Schmidt. Sarge, thanks so much for being here. Tell the viewers, what can they expect to see this weekend out on the roads?
Well, we do traffic safety campaigns all the time. We're always looking for those leading causes of death and injury and trauma. Seatbelts, aggressive driving, distracted driving, impaired driving, all those things are consistently found in fatal collisions. And seatbelts, it's the easiest piece of insurance that you can put on that's going to keep you in that seat so you can take advantage of airbags and all the other safety systems in a vehicle. But if you don't, you're going to be flying around, you're going to be causing trauma to yourself, other people in the vehicle as well. And we've had 11 people die already this year that weren't wearing seatbelts. The numbers have gone down over the last couple of years. We had 41 people die last year, in the 60s before that in 23 and 24. But it's such a preventable situation. And we know that the seatbelt can save your life. It'll keep you protected, and it's simple. It costs you between $200 and $1,000 if we catch you not wearing your seatbelt. And you as a driver are responsible for not only yourself, but anyone under the age of 16 as passengers. And of course, if you're over 16, you're responsible for yourself. But again, if there's a crash and you need a seatbelt, just like a life jacket, you won't have time to put it on.
Often the driver, it's the first thing you do. You get in the car, you turn it on, you put on your seatbelt. Sometimes it's the passengers who don't want to put on the seatbelt. If it's someone in the back seat who's saying, I don't need one back here, who's getting the ticket? If you get pulled over and you notice a passenger in the car is not wearing their seatbelt.
Well, as the driver, you're the captain. You're in charge. You know, I wouldn't be driving with insecure loads or cargo in your vehicle, in your pickup truck or whatever, but it's just like a passenger. They're insecure as well. And if you're involved in a wreck, you're buckled up. They're going to come flying forward, and they're going to cause all sorts of trauma to themselves and anybody else who may be buckled up. So if you're under age of 16, the driver's responsible for everybody. If you're over age of 16, the passengers are the ones getting the tickets as well. So, you know, again, we're going to be out there reminding people, looking for all sorts of issues and driving behavior problems. But again, we want to focus on seatbelts and remind people to put it on and just be safe.
Sergeant Schmidt, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right, Nathan and Michelle, the entire, OPP, especially the Highway Safety Division, will be out patrolling the highways, and certainly they're hoping everyone makes the right choice to have a safe and happy Easter. Reporting live at Bloor in the West Mall, I'm Beatrice Vaisman. Back to you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Beatrice. Former Toronto City Councillor and Ontario Cabinet Minister Michael Ford is confirming he will not be running to become the city's next mayor. Ford released a statement that reads, as many of you know, over the past while, I have been considering a run for mayor of Toronto. I want to thank the countless people who have been so kind to share their support with me from across the city. After some very long and thoughtful consideration with my close family, I have decided not to seek my candidacy for mayor of Toronto in the 2026 municipal election. I love Toronto and have always had a passion for public service. I will remain very active in the city that I love and lend my support in whichever way makes Toronto a more safe, affordable, and world-class city. Time for a live look at the city this afternoon, and you can't see half of it there. It is a wet day. It could definitely be warmer, but we are heading into a long weekend, so that's a good thing. Jessica Smith is here with all the details, and I can see lots of wet weather behind you there, Jess.
You know what? April showers, May flowers, as the saying goes, but we're getting a lot. The bulk of the really heavy activity is going to be north of the city, but it's a busy time. A lot of people traveling, so something to keep in mind. We are watching for a wave of showers to roll through midday. This is one of two Colorado lows making its way through the province. We have an easterly wind today. It becomes southwesterly tomorrow, but in between all of that, it is going to be a mess. The bulk of the alerts are going to be north of the city, but it is a busy time. So if you're heading out early for the Easter long weekend, keep that in mind. We're looking at some freezing rain a little bit further north. For us here in the GTA, temperature-wise, it is cooler. We are going to be below seasonal today. We're kind of between 5 and maybe 1 for the bulk of southern Ontario, and we are going to stay below seasonal as we head throughout your afternoon. We're at 2 through the islands, 2 through Pearson. The rain has already started there. It will track its way across the GTA as we head throughout that kind of midpoint of our day. We get a little break in the late afternoon, early evening, and then another round of active weather overnight. Temperature-wise this evening, we'll sit at 9 degrees, and we're climbing up to a daytime high into the 20s tomorrow, but it comes with wind and the chance of more rain. Your full forecast coming up right now, sending things back over to Nathan and Michelle.
All right. Thank you, Jessica.
Thanks.
A financial literacy event is being held at Scotiabank Arena this afternoon.
And participants are getting an assist from Raptors community ambassador Jamaal Magloire. CTV's Raheem Ladani joins us live now with more. Raheem.
Hey, Michelle, you know, we're used to seeing slam dunks, three-pointers, buzzer beaters here inside Scotiabank Arena. But tonight, the kids, they're running up the scoreboard in a very different way. They just broke out for lunch, so they're not right here. But I want to show you just what we're dealing with here. These are interactive displays in a partnership between the Toronto Raptors and Intuit TurboTax. There are 150 Toronto high school students taking part. And the idea is really simple, to teach real-world money issues in a language that these students understand, sports. And so I want to bring in a very special guest. I'm going to pull him away right here, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course.
Former Toronto Raptor legend, also just ambassador of Toronto overall. Jamaal Magloire, thanks for being here.
Hey, good to see you.
You know, you spoke with the students a little while ago. What was the one message you really wanted to get across to them in terms of financial literacy?
I think the biggest thing with financial literacy is that they have to plan accordingly. They have to plan ahead. I think for them, they're high school young people, and now is the time when they're most influential, and they need to find out about their finances now, build a foundation so when they're my age, they're set.
You know, you're part of that 1% that made a lot of money early on. You have to navigate that, and then post-NBA career, you got to navigate, listen, there's still a life after I play. what's one of the mistakes you see young people who make the league that you try to say, listen, don't do this?
Not only do I see young people make the same mistake, but I made the same mistake at the same time. I thought when I was 19, 20, 21, I was invincible. I thought I'd be playing in the NBA forever. And we have to be able to plan for a rainy day. You have to be able to plan not only while you're playing or while your career is standing, but for the next 30 years of our lives. You know, our life expectancy is 80, 85, 90 years old, and we have to make sure that we put ourselves in a position that we're able to be self-sufficient throughout our whole life, and it starts now.
Appreciate your time, Jamaal.
Thank you, man.
Thank you. So sound advice, you saw it right there. And just want to show you real quick one of the interactions here. You can see basically there are real world scenarios that they're teaching kids. What province you live in, what's your employment income, what if you make contributions to your RRSPs or FHSA contributions. All of these are things that they want kids to learn so that they learn how to budget, they learn how to do their taxes, so that right now when it's play money, they understand. So when there's real money on the line, they make the right decisions. Reporting live, I'm Raheem Ladani. I'll send it back to you both in studio.
Just great advice. Thanks, Raheem. After a successful blast-off yesterday, the crew of the Artemis II is on the second day of their mission to the moon. The four-person crew, which includes Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen, has already tested some vital systems on the spacecraft. They include the portable water dispenser, which will provide drinking water and rehydrate their food. They also tested the toilet and the system which removes carbon dioxide from the air. Earlier today, Commander Reed Vaisman gave an update on the mission so far.
All right, Amy, welcome on board the Integrity spacecraft. We got, right now, myself and Christina are in seats 1 and 2, getting ready for rendezvous and prox-ops demonstration. Victor's just finishing up getting out of suits and getting suit drying going, and Jeremy is hard at work in cabin configuration.
Later today, Vaisman and Victor Glover will set up a flywheel exercise device and take part in their first workout. Christina Koch and Jeremy Hansen have an exercise session scheduled for the second half of the day. Koch will spend her day preparing for the main event of day 2, something called the Translunar Injection Burn. This will set Orion on its path to the moon and eventually back to Earth. After that, the crew will get some time to acclimatize to the space environment, and then they participate in the first space-to-ground communication.
We return now to one of our top stories, the war in the Middle East. Iran is responding to U.S. President Donald Trump's claims that the country's military capabilities have been decimated. A spokesperson for the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps says information about Iran's military capabilities is incomplete and warned of more devastating actions from Iran. Iranian state media also released video of the country's army commander holding a video meeting with Iran's other top military officials. Meanwhile, the Iranian government has been calling retired soldiers to see if they are interested in returning to active duty. The IRGC has begun accepting children as young as 12 into its ranks as the death toll in Iran rises.
Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand says Canada will not hesitate to help secure the Strait of Hormuz once a ceasefire is in place.
Post-ceasefire, we could be looking at vessels, demining expertise, intelligence, cyber capabilities as being items that Canada will contribute.
And along with representatives from 30 other countries are discussing diplomatic options today to reopen the strait. Iran has effectively blocked it since being attacked by the U.S. and Israel more than a month ago. The disruptions responsible for the surge in global oil prices. A growing extortion crackdown in Calgary has led to the first arrest in a case which saw daycare locations being targeted.
Police say the investigation is part of a broader trend seen in cities across the country, including here in Toronto. CTV's Kathy Lee reports.
Shots fired into homes, others set ablaze. Police say the violence is linked to a series of extortion cases across Canada targeting members of the South Asian community. In Calgary, the first arrest has been made.
Our message to the offenders is very simple. We will continue down this path. We are taking a hard, unequivocal stance. There is no tolerance for this in any of our communities.
45-year-old Rana Chima has been charged with extortion and uttering threats in connection with a series of incidents.
One of those incidents was a shooting at this house in northeast Calgary early last month. Then 3 weeks later, vandalism and threats targeting 2 daycares outside of the city.
At this time, we do not believe there was any risk to the children.
Police say no one has been injured in any of the incidents in the city. Since January last year, there have been 41 extortion attempts. What began in BC's Lower Mainland is also being seen in other cities, including Edmonton and Toronto, where enforcement actions have also been taken. Many of these cases have been linked to organized crime overseas, making them difficult to investigate.
I'll give you an example of where the victim will get a WhatsApp phone call or message from a number that is essentially useless to investigators because that number could be populated by anything.
In the Calgary case, police wouldn't say if the suspect is connected to any organized crime, locally or internationally. They allege he was seeking large sums of money and control of businesses in the community. Kathy Lee, CTV News, Calgary.
A recent report from the U.S. is raising concerns over the country's Buy Canadian policy.
CTV's Mike LeCouture takes a closer look at what's being described as trade irritants as cross-border discussions continue.
The country's iconic symbol of democracy will soon be protected by Canadian steel. During the next phase of renovations, the Peace Tower will be encased by steel scaffolding from Hamilton-based Walters Inc. But it may not have happened if not for the Buy Canadian provision.
It would have been more difficult, and the chances are that much of the material, at least the raw material, would have come from the United States as opposed to from Canada.
As of December of last year, the government mandated that publicly funded infrastructure projects should prioritize Canadian workers and industries. Even though the U.S. has a similar provision, the American Trade Representative cited Canada's version as a trade irritant. The Minister for Canada-U.S. Trade downplayed the list of irritants, saying talks are continuing.
There was a high-level meeting this week in Washington between senior officials from Canada and the United States to discuss these and other issues. So none of this is surprising to us.
The removal of American liquor off many provincial store shelves is also on the list of irritants, as is Canada's Online Streaming Act and the Supply Management System, which restricts the import of American dairy, poultry, and eggs into this country. Meantime, Mexico is seemingly further ahead in trade negotiations with the U.S., engaging in technical discussions with the Americans.
I think the Canadian government is stalling for time. They think that Trump, my guess is they think Trump is weak. They want to sort of see if they can get this deferred into the midterms.
Minister LeBlanc says he'll continue to speak regularly with his American counterparts about the CUSMA review, even as the deadline to decide the deal's fate is just 3 months away. Mike LeCouture, CTV News, Ottawa.
And as Mike mentioned, alcohol is one of the trade irritants the U.S. is focused on.
CTV's Adrian Gobriel spoke with the CEO of an Ontario distillery that has benefited from the Buy Canadian movement.
Over here, we got our labeling center happening.
Since its inception in 2009, Maverick Distillery has been bottling a quality product. One main ingredient, their Made in Canada label, has been difficult to quantify. That is, until now.
It's been phenomenal. Our vodka sales on the year in the LCBO alone are up 100%, and our whiskey is up about 300%.
Following sweeping U.S. tariffs by the Trump administration, provincial liquor stores began pulling American spirits off the shelves across the country last year.
For the largest purchaser of alcohol in the entire world, they will feel the pain.
We have trade agreements with the Americans that we have to treat their products like our own. But if they're not going to abide by our trade agreements, then neither are we.
The provincial government ban on shipments of U.S.-made alcohol remains in place in Atlantic Canada, the territories Ontario, Quebec, Manitoba, and British Columbia. Previous bans have been lifted in Alberta and Saskatchewan. Maverick was Ontario's first licensed craft distillery. The surge in demand means they're now coming out with new products to offer consumers looking for a made-in-Canada beverage.
We have a number of new products that basically fulfill that need for richer bourbon-style whiskey, but it's actually bottled right here in Oakville, Ontario.
CTV News has spoken to multiple spirit makers across the country over the last year who are leaning into their made-in-Canada product.
Our latest gin is a strawberry gin. We get strawberries from the Fraser Valley.
Maverick now has more than 20 people working on the production side of its business.
Currently hiring. Please go on Indeed, LinkedIn, check out our job post.
And while they're growing and hiring more Canadians, they admit the growth triggered by a trade war has been bittersweet.
It's not a good matter for Canadians, beneficial for our industry, but we do look for a resolve as soon as possible.
Here on the busy floor inside Maverick Distillery, they tell us that they hope that interprovincial trade barriers are the next to fall so they can get their bottles and cans into the hands of Canadians across the country. Adrian Gabriel, CTV News, Oakville, Ontario.
Stellantis is in early talks about building electric vehicles in Canada with a Chinese partner. Sources say the automaker is looking at options for its idle assembly plant in Brampton, including a plan to buy EVs with a Chinese tech company that Stellantis has a 20% stake in. If it goes ahead, it will be the first major Chinese auto investment in Canada since Prime Minister Mark Carney rolled back tariffs on EVs made in China.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is calling on the Carney Liberals to scrap the federal gas tax for the rest of the year.
A policy that would save 25 cents a litre, about $20 a fill-up, and $1,200 for the average family of four between now and the end of the year.
Poilievre argues the tax holiday would bring immediate relief to drivers facing rising fuel prices. He also says the lower fuel costs would reduce the price of food and other goods transported by truck. Poilievre says the tax break could be paid for by cutting federal spending in other areas. He pointed specifically at the gun buyback program and foreign aid, as well as canceling the high-speed rail project between Toronto and Quebec City.
This is a Holy Thursday for Christians, and at the Vatican, the Pope has begun events leading up to Easter Sunday. The pontiff performed the first Chrism Mass of his papacy today. It is when the oil used in Catholic religious ceremonies throughout the year is blessed. During his homily, Pope Leo warned against the abuse of power and the desire for domination. He called for unity and peace in this dark hour of history. Tomorrow, the pontiff will preside over the Good Friday procession at Rome's Colosseum, and a late-night Easter vigil Saturday, followed by Easter Sunday. And the Easter long weekend is almost here, and people across our city are busy running errands ahead of the holiday.
The St. Lawrence market is packed today as shoppers stock up for Easter dinners. And that's where we find CP24's Melissa Duggan, who joins us live now with more on the holiday preps. Melissa.
Hey, Nathan and Michelle, listen, spring has sprung here at St. Lawrence Market. Yes, lots of shoppers packing this historic landmark, picking up those last-minute items, those treats, maybe some flowers as well. It smells just terrific over here. Look at these beautiful colors. Hello, I know you're busy in here preparing all sorts of bouquets. David, tell me what the big sellers are today.
Well, it's kind of like, it's going to be tulips. It's going to be pretty much anything bright and pastel-y and happy to celebrate spring coming in, hopefully.
And this is a great sign of it, too, for sure. How do you pick out the perfect tulip, I'm wondering?
Yeah, you kind of, it's an eye, right? That's the beauty of a florist and the team. So what is it that you think is very beautiful that's going to work with everything as opposed to just getting anything and everything? Yeah, it's a personal choice.
Great tip. Thanks for that. Appreciate it. Thanks so much, everybody here. Okay. So, of course, this is one of the first stops that you'll see when you walk into St. Lawrence Market, but you got to eat something, too. Lots of treats here, lamb on sale, lots of great things to pick up, but some fruits and veggies, and something that caught my eye, it is springtime. Asparagus, it is here. Mario, hello, how are you? Listen, a busy day here ahead of the long weekend. What's the big seller here?
Oh, right now it's the vegetable season. People are having a good time with the families. Beans, Brussels sprouts, asparagus, carrots, all the root vegetables. Things are all good for you. Eat them once a year.
Definitely nice and fresh and colorful here, too. I wonder for the Easter dinner, what people are interested in here today.
Well, asparagus. Oh, yeah. Never wanted to go crazy for asparagus. Yeah. And then you got your green beans. You've got your root vegetables. You also have your carrots.
Sure.
This is the time of year that all the rabbits come out of the hole. You know, they come and get their carrots and green.
Gotta feed those bunnies for sure. Thanks so much for that, Mario. So yeah, the asparagus, the tulips, the treats, lots of great cookies here as well. A busy place as we get ready for that long weekend. And by the way, Nathan and Michelle, St. Lawrence Market is closed tomorrow for Good Friday, also for Easter Sunday, but Saturday it is open. Back to you.
All right, good to know. Thanks, Melissa.
Well, you'll need all that food, and maybe you'll want to stay inside because the weather is pretty changeable as we head throughout the long weekend. We're a little below seasonal today, well above seasonal tomorrow, and then back down to where we should be. It's a roller coaster of emotions and forecasts. As we get into the day tomorrow, 21 degrees, the seasonal norm is 9, but it comes with very gusty winds and some unsettled weather. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast, the rain, the wind, the sun, and everything in between, all those details after the break.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
All right, to the forecast. We're getting close to the long weekend. Hopefully you've got the day off tomorrow. And we're talking like in the 20s. Is that right?
I cannot believe it. I was hoping to ski this long weekend. Yeah, I don't know, with all the rain too.
Yeah, the heavier rain is really in Northern Ontario, so it's a busy travel weekend for a lot of people. But we do this like wild ricochet above seasonal and then even faster back down below seasonal. So the chance of a little bit of flash freezing is going to exist. So just be careful as you make your way out and about. But is one of the things when we have an early Easter that the weather is so unpredictable. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. And we have a gusty easterly wind as we get through our day today. We're watching the showers roll through at this midpoint of our day here. And then we do get a small break as we head into the afternoon. And then another round of active weather rolls in overnight. Again, the heaviest of the showers is going to be for our friends north of the GTA, but it's something to consider as a lot of people are traveling this weekend. Temperature-wise, we're sitting at about 2. We do have a wind chill. You probably felt it this morning if you were outside. It is brisk out there, and we have that really sharp easterly wind. As we make our way in towards our daytime high today, you know, we're not really close to where we should be, and then as we get into the overnight hours, we go well above. So we're doing this kind of roller coaster as a really strong southwesterly wind starts to build in. Into this evening, we should be at 1. We'll sit at 9 degrees, and we are watching for the chance of rain and the risk of thunderstorms as we head in towards the early part of our night. Into the day tomorrow, we are going to see again a bit of a roller coaster as we climb up to 21 degrees and then sharply back down to just below the seasonal point. Here's kind of the first round of rain that will push its way through, again prompting a laundry list of watches and warnings for our friends north of Bancroft. So if you're traveling, maybe taking off early for the Easter long weekend, keep that in mind. It is going to impact your commute. As we head throughout kind of the midpoint of our day, we do get a little bit of a break late afternoon, another round of rain overnight tonight, and then we see another chance of rain throughout the weekend. So it's a soggy Easter long weekend for so many. That's what we're seeing right now. We do get a little bit of a reprieve as we head into the early part of our afternoon. Dry for the commute home tonight. So if you are taking off to head anywhere this evening for the Easter long weekend, you do get a little bit of a break unless you're traveling a little bit further north. We watch for showers on and off as we get in towards your Friday morning, and then we get a bit of a surge of that warm air. So we do see a little sunshine kind of midpoint of our day, and then the afternoon nicer. So if you do have outdoor plans, if you can schedule them for the second half of the day, it's a little bit better. But just keep in mind, when we get rid of the rain, we get the wind. So it's going to be nice and warm into the day tomorrow, but extremely windy with another round of showers as we head in towards the end of the day. We'll see this ridge in the jet stream, the oranges and the yellows. Those are the colors you want to see. We get that as we head into, again, the day tomorrow, but it doesn't last very long as we see another sharp drop as we head in towards the evening tomorrow. We'll see a daytime high today right around 5 degrees. We're below seasonal for the high, but above seasonal for the low. That warmth doesn't go anywhere. It only increases as we head in towards your Good Friday with 21 degrees. The thing you have to keep in mind after the active weather pushes out, we have a really gusty afternoon. So a nice warm wind, but it's a gusty southwesterly wind. And then we see that ricochet back below seasonal to just 4 degrees for the overnight. We get into your Saturday, more showers on and off on the way, but a fairly seasonal day. And then we hold on near the seasonal mark as we head in towards kind of the beginning of next week. So not a terrible Easter long weekend, but do keep in mind that we are watching for some pretty significant rain further north and then showers on and off for us here in the GTA. But the one thing about April that is consistent is how inconsistent the weather is going to be. Hopefully this helps you plan. Michelle, I'll send things back to you.
It always does. Thank you, Jess. Well, the Maple Leafs continue their West Coast swing, looking for a second straight win when they face off with the San Jose Sharks tonight.
It's Easton Cowan across, Riley in front, scores!
The team won 5-4 in overtime Monday when they faced the Anaheim Ducks. That was the same night former general manager Brad Treliving was fired. Now, if you include tonight's game, the Leafs have 7 games left in the season, which will see them miss the playoffs for the first time since 2016. Puck drop is set for just after 10 p.m. in San Jose.
The Toronto Tempo will begin assembling its roster tomorrow when the team takes part in the WNBA expansion draft. The Tempo acquired the 26th pick in the draft from the Chicago Sky last night in exchange for Toronto not selecting players from Chicago's unprotected list. Toronto also holds the 6th, 22nd, and 36th picks in the WNBA draft April 13th. The Tempo will make their WNBA debut in a preseason game against the Connecticut Sun April 29th before their first game ever next month against Washington at Coca-Cola Coliseum.
Still to come, a new study is raising questions about dementia risk and diet recommendations. We'll have those details when we return. A new study is raising questions about dementia risk and why diet recommendations on that front might not apply to everyone. A large-scale Harvard study published last year linked processed red meat consumption to a higher risk of dementia, alongside other health concerns. But this new research out of Sweden focused on a particular subset of adults who had genetic profiles common among Alzheimer's disease patients. Among those particular individuals, the study found there was actually a reduced risk of a dementia diagnosis if they were also in the group that consumed the most meat. The findings were published in JAMA Network Open, and the authors say further research is crucial to confirm these observational findings.
The Cannes Film Festival says it will be screening the directorial debut of John Travolta. The festival shared the news in a press release today, along with a first-look image at Propeller One-Way Night Coach. It's an adaptation of the book written, illustrated, and published by Travolta in 1997. Cannes says he was inspired by his passion for aviation to create the title for his son. It tells the story of a young airplane enthusiast on a journey to Hollywood. No word on when the debut screening will take place, but it'll debut on Apple TV May 29th.
Well, after a big win at the Oscars, the team behind Weapons is moving ahead with plans for a prequel focused on one character in particular.
Oh, no, it's not serious. Nothing terminal. It's just a touch of consumption.
Back in August, we mentioned reports of a potential prequel focused on the creepy Aunt Gladys. Amy Madigan would go on to win the Best Actress trophy for the role in the movie about a classroom of children mysteriously disappearing overnight. Now the writing team is expanding. The Hollywood Reporter says Godzilla and King Kong screenwriter Zach Shields is joining Weapons. Creator Zach Kreger on the new title, tentatively named Gladys. Well, still to come, Oracle is laying off thousands of staff as it invests more in artificial intelligence. We'll have those details when we come back.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
The rising price of gas and diesel is increasing pressure on grocers to pass the cost on to shoppers.
CTV's Andrew Johnson has more on the struggles they're facing to stay afloat while maintaining a customer base.
It's just chicken broth.
As he stocks the shelves alongside his daughter, David Lee Quen knows there are tough decisions ahead.
I am worried that if this continues, I can't take care of my family.
The war in Iran and resulting surge in gas prices have already increased costs at his Vancouver store, but Lee Quen is leaving the prices alone for now.
We want the customers to still shop here, because if you put up your prices all the time, it's not good.
But independent grocers like this one can only absorb so much. The Canadian Federation of Independent Grocers says shoppers should brace for higher prices.
We're already getting notifications of price increases, and in some cases, some of the distributors of products are tapping on surcharges, fuel surcharges.
The price I saw on the way in this morning was $269.9 for diesel.
Dave Earle represents truckers in BC and says what's passed on to shoppers can depend on what is being shipped.
If it's a load of electronics that's worth $2 or $3 million, the extra, $500 to $700 in fuel, it doesn't make much of a difference to the end cost of the product. If it's a load of lettuce, that's very different. Death of 1,000 cuts. Everywhere you go, everything is a few cents more.
Everyone we spoke to expressed hope for a quick resolution in Iran and a return to normal for oil prices. But they also acknowledge even if that happens, there will be a lag and grocery prices could remain inflated for months. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
In another sign of the impact of spiking gas prices, auto sales saw a significant drop last month. DeRosier Automotive Consultants says about 170,000 vehicles were sold across Canada in March. That represents a more than 8% slump compared to the same month in 2025. DeRosier's managing partner Andrew King says high gas prices have added even more financial stress for Canadian consumers, in addition to the challenges posed by a year of tariff tensions with the U.S. The report says harsh winter weather also kept shoppers away from dealerships.
Another tech giant is slashing jobs. CNBC reporting that cloud computing firm Oracle is laying off thousands of employees as it boosts investment in artificial intelligence. More than 70 tech companies have cut more than 40,000 jobs this year alone.
We have to kind of look at the overall market. What is changing is that AI is moving into places that were previously occupied by research-heavy roles, repetitive roles. It's kind of moving up the food chain. So I think everyone, no matter where you are in your career, no matter what kind of level you're at in an organization, you have to look at your role and ask yourself, how vulnerable am I to this being either complemented, overlapped, or completely replaced by AI?
Last week, Meta laid off a few hundred employees, and Reuters reports the company is planning sweeping layoffs impacting up to 20% of its workforce.
Toys R Us Canada has been granted court permission to put itself up for sale. A judge has approved a process which will see the retailer solicit investments in the company or choose a buyer for the business or its assets by June. The retailer did not outline what it will be selling, but it stated in court records that its assets are valued at $126 million. Toys R Us Canada filed for creditor protection in February to address mounting debts and lawsuits from suppliers and landlords.
Coming up on CTV News at noon, restoring a piece of rural history. We'll have more on the engineering skills being used to save a 140-year-old timber barn. Stay with us. A feat of engineering has saved a piece of Ontario's rural history.
A 140-year-old timber frame barn is being restored after being lifted from its foundation. CTV's Scott Miller has the story.
Brent Weigel proudly looks on as a piece of his family's history is restored near Mild May.
This barn's been in the family since early 1900s. I think 1901 our family bought it, and we had some sentimental value in the property and the buildings, and the structure was too good to tear down and decommission and just sell as parts.
So with a crumbling stone foundation, Weigel called in Larry Waddell of Waddell Engineering to find out if moving the 140-year-old timber frame, initially constructed in the 1880s, was possible. It was, and on March 23rd, a 210-ton crane was brought in to lift the 42,000-pound timber frame structure onto a brand new foundation.
This frame was a good candidate just because it was kept in good shape over the years, where a lot of these barns are starting to deteriorate too far and they're not worth it, right? There's not too many have been done this way. If any, I'm not sure. So it was a bit of a gamble to lift it up, and if it fell apart, I guess. It was worth the risk.
While a massive crane was used to move the barn from its original foundation last month, Waddell believes when it was built in the 1880s, the huge wooden beams would have been lifted in place by hand with the help of horses. All the wood to make the barn would have been harvested from a nearby bush lot.
This one was pretty unique where it had 12 by 12 by 72 feet long timbers in it. They're all old growth that came from this farm. And so to see a 72-foot long timber is pretty crazy to begin with. And to see it 12 inches and true the whole way, so you knew that had to be from a pretty big tree back then.
Weigel says once the roof and siding are reinstalled, the 140-year-old barn will be used to store heavy machinery for his drainage business, a modern-day use for a salvaged piece of family history.
Like most of these barns are unusable or not in good enough shape to be able to move them. This one's luckily in good enough shape and held up structurally to swing it over onto a new foundation. Now it's going to last another 100 years or more.
Near Mildmay, Scott Miller, CTV News.
Very cool.
So nice to see history preserved there, and it would also be really nice to see some sunshine this weekend. I don't know if that's going to happen, but alas, April.
We get a little bit of sunshine late in the day tomorrow, but it comes with really gusty winds. So it's kind of that trade-off this time of year. You get one or the other, but not both. Well, the good news is, at least into the day tomorrow, we do climb well above seasonal, so it will be warm, windy, and wet. We're looking at showers right now rolling across southern Ontario. In the first wave of active weather, we have a couple of Colorado lows making their way into the area with a gusty easterly wind today, adding that chill to the air. So that 2 degrees we have here in the city feels like -3. We do get very warm into the day tomorrow, but we are still watching for that active weather to get the day started. So keep that in mind. If you are traveling, it could impact your drive. We do a sharp cool down into your Friday evening before we settle to a much more seasonal forecast Saturday and Sunday.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Jess. And that's it for CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and the whole team here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great afternoon.